Can you see it?
Yeah.
I can see it. Yes, thank you so much.
Well, sorry about that. It's my avatar. That's why you can see my hair is is different now. So my avatar is not well trained. So you will see how they are done in our demo today. Hello, everyone. And, as we are grappling with what's going on around us in the world and in our families and businesses, in our lives, I'd like you to take a look at this screen and try to draw, if you want, just, I hope you have something to draw with, this matrix. So, and have it in mind throughout the conversation here, because I think, what I'm going to talk about is what we have and we don't use, like, for example, voting on blockchain. I was outraged to see people lining up to vote in this time when we already have the technology which can enable us to vote from our homes, just like now, to talk from our homes. And I'm going to talk also about what is possible and where we have to focus and what to enable in order to move on successfully with a better new normal, whatever we call new normal. So I hope you're done with the 5 Ps. I will come back to this at the end of the talk, just to revisit that with you. So, and hopefully you're gonna take something away for your own life and business from this diagram in the context of what I'm talking about, as we all are now struggling with reconfiguring for safety. All I say, the new normal, I don't think it's gonna be like that, but this may be useful if I'm going to the Super Bowl or maybe at the Tokyo Olympics, and you can imagine in what other context. But if I'm going to the barber shop, and by the way, this is now happening in Maryland, well, that is not possible, obviously. So therefore, I have to be careful and keep a lot of logs and information. Allow only those who need to be groomed for essential services, and keep a file. But do I trust those files? So blockchain can be very useful here with all these 3. On the other side, I've been thinking to help so many charities. And of course, not knowing where the money is going. And as I've been all my life struggling with, where is my money gone? So of course, charities on blockchains, especially for the homeless right now, and where those who are actually really not in the system, we can put them quickly in the system. These are lessons which I have learned with my work for immigrants with the UN. Now we can use it here for our own people. Remote work, as I'm talking, avatar or not. So this is a doctor which is going with General Dynamics to robots, of course, to the patient. Why do I need that? And I cannot do it just from my laptop, because I need the sensors to take temperature, which has to be collected reliably, and I may not trust the patient. So I also, can have the patient, pardon me, spit inside this little box here and have their test for COVID-19 done automatically. So a lot of applications of mobile robotics and remote work are coming and surfacing. This is an application which just came up, I think, about 2 days ago on adaptation of their robot, which already we know about it. The Department of Defense has been using this technology for some time for their meetings, because they work remotely, obviously. So the generals are in the field, and then they can meet virtually. But now, even more so, so they can use collaborative work, collaborative tools. This will be now adopted more and more. However, you can imagine the virtual office, so in which it's about physical distances, but not social distancing. So I can feel that I am in the office, although everybody is at their homes and doing my particular work. So this is, again, technology which is deployed, but it can be now adapted to our needs, to our own businesses. And of course, blockchain is crucial, because I need to prove that it's me actually who is working and not someone else. And also because I may want to track some important signals here. So here is an engineer working from home with collaborative tools. This is real and happening today. And this is how the workplace looks right now. We were just talking before starting the talk that work will never be the same. And yes, we want to come together in co-working spaces and so on and so forth. But if that is not possible, at least we have important alternatives. This is actually already adopted. You can see the date here is April 3, 2020. Ford Motors are using that. They are using the at-home virtual reality. So what more adaptation do you want in order to keep the vehicle design and development on track, so you can actually inspect vehicles, collaborate in the designs. So this brings me to the idea of smart assets. Smart assets are all this, and again, Ford Motor is leading in this. They are assets. They can be people. They can be cars that are living in 3D but virtually. So what do they need? Let's see, what do they need? So a smart twin of a car would need identity, history, rights. Well, does blockchain ring a bell here in order to implement voice, a sort of Alexa? And of course, artificial intelligence is necessary here, as well as they can be programmable. So the sky is the limit on how we can apply the technologies which we promote in order to actually deploy such technologies. Not to mention that this 3D, like taking the web from the page into space, can be applied to reconfigure, for example, the items on your floor, on the racks in Costco or other like Walmart, so that it ensures that when customers are in, they will be distributed, the items will be distributed by how much intensity they are bought, with how much intensity they are being bought to ensure social distancing. So for example, you would have about 10 places in which you have toilet paper at Costco, not one place where everybody is rushing. So there are many applications of reconfiguration, not only of the store racks, but also of the work itself and of people, and how do we distribute work. And this is possible through multi-agent systems modeling, which I will explain to you a bit later. And now again, yes, we will kill a few jobs. So seamless accounts and currency, this is kind of something which exists again, and we don't use it. We, the blockchain people, are championing this for many years. Now it's time to embrace it. So the stores, we can save the lives of the cashiers. We don't need to expose them, and we can do this seamless accounts, currency, and shopping, in which all the items, just like maybe you experienced in hotels when you take them from the minibar, by the time you took them and put them in your buggy, then you are being charged for them. So touchless via automation is a big trend, and a big dream of mine for many years as a robotics and control engineer. I'd much rather have that robot from General Dynamics fill the cart with my items at the store while I wait at home, and then the autonomous car bringing it to me and in front of my porch, and then I just go and pick it up. So no human contact, touchless via automation is very safe. Well, hopefully we will have it sometime soon. In any case, we at SingularityNet are working on that. So no paper is one trend, and hopefully, the dream of saving trees and a lot more by using the power of the e-society, as I call it, and the smart twin of the world, together with the smart rules embedded in contracts which can now be executable. So I don't need to even trust, so that's why these trustless infrastructures, I don't need to even trust the counterparty, because the smart contract is going to execute anyway. So how is this actually revolutionizing and transforming our systems and institutions today? Of course, everybody knows. Probably you have the kids at home already, and they are learning, and you have to school them, or maybe they are going to school online. Well, this is going to change even more dramatically now. Maybe many of you know about the Khan Academy. We will have many instantiations of such academies in which I can pick up the favorite teacher from anywhere in the world and actually bring that teacher to my class. I can create my class from any students who want to come to my class. So a lot of reconfiguration and transformation, radical change, which I believe very strongly, actually for many years, that it's much better than the enregimentation which is happening now in our educational system. Not to mention also the lack of experimentation. So this is what actually will happen, hopefully, because, so this, there are a few positive things about COVID-19, because we are now forced to rethink how we do things, and we can do them much better. But of course, an important question is, how do we create a resilient world, in the sense of how do we unleash the social network operating system, which I was kind of trying to exemplify through this e-learning example. Well, we need the social innovators, definitely. And you have seen that, of course, on Facebook, we have a lot of initiatives for, helping the elderly in my community, or what can I do here and there about and going beyond something organized. So from the bottom up. So we are experiencing now, with COVID-19, a new mode of production, which is now from its person-centric. So if I'm a social innovator, and I will give you a few examples, I can be helpful. I do not need to wait for the government to tell me, you can do this or that. So you do it, and by this you create your own job. You can start really your own business, your startup. So there's so much opportunity there through this transformation, which is happening right now. So, and coming back to this question, how do we enable linking the right person where it is needed at the right time? And we all are playing with this keyword or buzzword, gig economy. Bill is an expert in that and is working with some companies to actually answer that question. And I think this is something which will be absolutely needed very soon. So one example is the social network. I don't know if John is here, John Cole, who is the founder. Actually, this grew from the organic need around Hurricane Harvey. I just wanted to give you this example. And now it's being transformed into a network for help, as I mentioned before, as well as including helping and coordinating firefighters or emergency responders at the right time, at the right place. So things which already were kind of in the shade and left from when we actually found them useful, and then thought, who knows when the next hurricane will be deployed more and more. And this is an example of the social innovator, which I mentioned. Another social innovator is Chef Andre, of course, Jose Andre, who has, is attempting to rescue not only the poor and the emergency responders themselves by bringing them warm food in the middle of their fight with COVID-19, but also he is rescuing the restaurant industry by hiring chefs and their helpers, and doing a supply chain of provisions all the time. But how do we trust that the right chef is hired and that is really the chef who is putting the meal there? How do I trust that meal in such a reshuffling and reorganization? So I would need blockchain. I would definitely need a repository to find the right person at the right place, or wherever they are with their skills. So Chefs for America, of course, everybody knows, but I don't know how many of you have looked at it from the perspective of blockchain-enabled supply chains. How do I know where those ingredients come from? How do I know the food is not poison? How do I know who is packing it, and are they healthy or are they not? So do they have an immunity pass? All this can be solved with blockchain. So this is what I call, and for many years as a researcher of e-society, I call adhocracies. So, we use these simulation models, which we kind of termed social technical combinatorics, in which tools and resources together with people, you mix and match them and group them. And so everybody's staying from home and having tools and resources, like you have seen with the Ford Motor example of virtual reality. They can contribute and cluster in order to respond in bottom-up fashion, as you have seen with John's example. And the question is, how can we unleash this kind of social innovation? Because our top-down policies are not really very friendly right now. And this also, I have many examples, but the most outrageous for me was the testing example, where the CDC actually delayed the work and did not allow work which was crucial done by universities in the US, the best universities. So that work was not allowed because of their approval processes, and they came up with their own test which didn't work. So we lost 2 precious weeks. So we have to work on these policies and unleash the social innovation. So these are the crucial questions. How do we use the digital environment to increase people's capabilities? How do we implement architectures of participation? How can we achieve effects with resources which we cannot control? And of course, it's risky because it's going to change. For example, I showed you for the educational system, it's going to change how we work today. Many jobs, as I showed you, with the shopping centers, and I'm sure the bureaucracy in the educational system as well, many of those jobs are going to fall. And so there are risks, but is it worth trying? And I would say definitely in many instances it is. So these architectures of participation, they have to have a low barrier to entry while also being a very, how I would say it, like a gateway. So I have identification, I can prove, and I'm certified, let's say, with my credentials, as well as with my ID, that if I enter a work group, then it's me and I have the right competencies for that. So low barrier to entry, but also with blockchain enabled, as you no doubt have got. So we are creating now new types of personnel platforms, which Bill is working on, actually with a few companies. But we can even, go further away in the gig economy and cluster people by their individual passions, interests, talents, and expertise. So my passion is to work on policies, of course. So that's a big question. What policies are needed to unleash such unused human capital? And we can come up with those policies by multi-agent systems modeling. So with SingularityNet, we are using that for business continuity. Well, I just wanted to give you a flavor of these architectures of participation. I mean, it's not that simple to connect things and people in various ways with devices. But we know it, we handle it. And actually, this is not a very recent one. It's one which I developed, I co-developed a bit earlier, much earlier actually in my career. So the question is how, I mean, not necessarily is a question now. I think an answer is that these institutional structures and institutional norms can emerge. So if we model, and I give you a simple example here from a supply chain. If we model components of a supply chain, we have many companies and suppliers and customers. So each of these can be an agent, a software agent, and then they are nested. So a company would have various components, as you can see here, sales and so on and so forth, and factories. And then if you go within a factory, you find work areas, and then you find robots and people and other things as the ultimate cellular layer. So this is enabling us to actually mix and match those resources, as I told you about, in a harmonious way to respond at the right time, at the right place, to the appropriate need. So it's like, you have all these resources scattered in different locations, but then you can cluster them according and pull them from your repository according to the needs, as Chef Andre is doing that. He's pulling them out of the restaurants where they're dying, and they are reviving those chefs and putting them to good use. So it's like, very similar like with the ants when they actually, without any plan, they are finding the road to food. There's too much to tell you about, but this is because the science behind this is complex adaptive systems, which we master very well at SingularityNet. And lastly, just to illustrate, so these are the physical agents I illustrated. And they are modeled in software, and then through simulation modeling around a particular goal or purpose, I can cluster them. And for example, this one is physically here, but now it will work together with one from here and with two from here, from different locations. I can just pull them in and they will work together. So this is what I mean by simulation modeling. We have this physical world, and then we have the digital society, the digital twin of the world, which I was mentioning before.
Mihaela, 5 minutes. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
I'm almost done. So this is what I mean by the social network operating system as a new type of personnel platform, pulling in the right resource at the right time at the right place. But the question is, how do we deploy them? Because we tried to deploy them before also without blockchain. And we ended up with Google and with Amazon and with all these eaters of our data. So therefore, we need now new forms of deploying such infrastructures, which are the guardian angels of our personal identity and data. That's how I would call them. And they can be the BitAngels, why not? So, so new forms of social organization they have to be, however, architected appropriately. So as Mitch Kapoor was saying, architecture is politics and politics is architecture. If you still can access his blogs, that was so luminary and it was, so prescient. So I'm not sure if we actually understood what he meant at the time. And so now it's the time to really architect correctly, and blockchain is the way to go. So just an example of how we are using this at SingularityNet: to reconfigure medical personnel, equipment and supplies just around the COVID-19, including with ventilators and so on and so forth. So these are medical personnel, and these are the software agents representations of the various components, including research lab collaborative capability, with DNA and treatments and causes and very, very sophisticated networks of knowledge, which we can process with the complex adaptive systems theories in order to offer agility of response, as I mentioned before, at the right time, at the right place. So the new normal, well, how will it look like? Of course, it will look different for every one of you, depending in which business are you involved. But definitely, all these ingredients will pervade all of them: agility of response to reconfigurable work processes and workplaces, maximize remote work, and more automation to avoid people exposure. AI, big data, and blockchain, definitely crucial. So with this, I think we can go back to our initial framework. And I don't know if Bill, you wanted to say anything about this?
Oh, you bet. Yeah, I've had the pleasure. First of all, I get to work with Dr. Ulieru, Mihaela, every day. So I get to drink from the fire hose of brilliance, and we could see glimpses of that here. So thank you very much. I have a couple questions I want to ask you that came through. But first, this bounce back strategy, which I had the benefit of looking at over the weekend when we were talking through your presentation, I used for my own businesses. And we're going to send this out to the participants so they can kind of go through this grid. It really, now taking in all of the changes you're saying, it really helped me to plan for what's next. We think we know, but this grid was really instrumental for that. So I appreciated that. A couple questions for you. I think we have time for about two. One was, how quickly do you think the crisis will accelerate blockchain usage?
Well, this is, it is already doing it. The thing is, the only thing it stays in our way now. And I'm just wondering how come it's still happening, because I was at the Congressional Blockchain Caucus right here behind me, if you can see the Congress. And talking to them about voting on blockchain, and everybody was so enthusiastic about it. So I think now it's only if that we do not push, and probably the legacy systems and the lobbyists that are still keeping what is there in place. I think it's up to us that we push now when it is needed. I mean, we the people, because this is what I live for. it's time for us to say, no, I want to vote and I want to exercise my right to vote without needing to get COVID-19 or risking my life. And the technology is there, so allow us to implement it. I know many companies, this is not a pitch, so I'm not going to name any of them who are actually at the forefront of voting technology. But I wish, I would have an answer that tomorrow it will be adopted, but it all depends on us, if we accept the status quo or not. And I've worked all my life on, technologies that can actually unleash our innovative spirit, our rights, and so on and so forth. And there is a very good movie, which maybe many of you have seen, The Four Horsemen. Just go back and watch it again. And that will be the answer to why we don't have it now and why we have to risk our lives to vote in person this day.
Thank you for that. One more question for you. When you were talking, that one person wrote, "This sounds very similar to decentralized identifiers and verifiable credentials. Can you touch upon your vision for standards within this ecosystem?"
Oh, well, standards, I'm sorry to say, the standards is not a vision. Yes, standards are standards. So the whole point is standards, in my opinion, good standards. And I worked on that with the Foundation for Intelligent Physical Agents for many years. But you see, then blockchain came. And so we developed those kind of architectures, which I showed you, very complex and so on. And then blockchain came, and then Bitcoin came. And we all embraced it because it's so beautiful. So I want that, but it's not perfect because it's too slow. So how do we progress? So standards are a moving target. And of course, if we want to deploy at scale, we need standards. But for standards, we need collaboration, cooperation. And definitely, it would be really great to have a standard for identity. But on the other side, I would like to have an open system in which I can work with many technologies, with symphony of blockchains, to bring them in and be able to deploy identity and that they work together. And those are the standards. So to open the doors to collaboration to all these companies which are deploying blockchains. And every day I receive calls. My blockchain is better. My blockchain is the best. My solution is the best. I'm like, oh, not another one. Work together. Find a way to work, of course, competitively and collaboratively. That is the key word, the key to standards. I'd be happy to mediate some, and you, Bill, can also, because you're very good.
Well, Dr. Ulieru, thank you, Mihaela. We really appreciate you being here, and there's a lot of brilliant thoughts there.